In conclusion of how to organize your speech, part 3. Wait a second, you just said in conclusion. Well, this is a funny point that I want to make here. A lot of speakers will do this where they'll say, in conclusion. First of all, you should not say, well, in conclusion, or kind of to wrap us up here. To wrap us up, that's a little bit better, but you don't want to state that, hey, we're here at the end of our speech. Because then it's like, oh, okay, let me tune my ears back in and actually pay attention and look like I was paying attention. You want to have your speech so good that people are listening the whole time. But also, you notice that I said part 3 of 5. So if you happen to say in conclusion, and then you're like, well, this is only part 3 of 5, which is really halfway through, that's also a bad thing because you should be finishing up. It should technically be part 5 of 5, if you will. But obviously, this is a series. So I've got a few other things that I'm going to talk about here. So this is not an actual conclusion. Just thought it was funny and I wanted to share that with you. But what is the conclusion about exactly? The conclusion in your speech is all about wrapping up the speech. It is the ending of the speech, as you probably could have guessed. But more important than that, it's the summarization of your whole speech. So you want to make sure when you go into the conclusion of your speech that you really wrap up. So there's three things to the conclusion that I like to do. So one, of course, summarize what your speech was about. So that way people can know what they should have taken away from that, what things that they learned from that. Number two actually is telling them, and sometimes I will say, if there's only one thing you took away from this, this is what I want you to know about. And I think it's a great way. It's an impactful way. It really just depends on the situation going on. But I like to use that way sometimes. Other times I'll just say the point. I won't even say, if you only take one thing away from this, take this away. I just say, remember, this is why you should speak better or something like that. But I'll actually tell them to remember something. That way that thing sticks with them. So if you go back to the body of the speech, you'll remember that I said 3 to 5 points max, or how many ever points you have. But this is where I emphasize one of those points because ultimately one of those points is probably more important than the rest of them. So I like to make sure I emphasize that one point in my conclusion. And then finally, some kind of call to action. This does not mean you're selling a program, you're selling a product, a service, anything like that. This simply means a call to action, something for them to go do. And if you can relate it with a speech, that's an amazing way to do it as well. Or if you can get people to go take action on something you're doing, this is a great thing to do. One call to action that I like to use a lot is actually getting my phone up and I tell them, here's my call to action for you today. I want you, when we get done here, I want you to get on your phone and take a selfie video of yourself and say how amazing this event is that you're at. Because when I'm speaking at an event, I want to help make sure that we promote it, but I'm also wanting to make sure that the audience actually takes some action on actually speaking and getting their face in front of people. And a lot of times they're going to learn at a business conference, at some kind of conference, and they've spent this money and they're spending time away from their family, from the clients that they have. And so I say, do this so that way the clients can know that you are investing in yourself. Too often, we don't do that. We just go and we assume that the clients know that we're investing in ourselves or that we're just away, so don't bug us, anything like that. But if they see that, hey, you're at a conference and you're trying to learn, and you're trying to grow, that's going to make them want to support you more and want to work with you more because you're not just simply trying to take their money. You learned something 20 years ago and you're still doing the same thing. You're actually learning more so you can continue to grow. So it makes them want to stay with you even more because of that. And then, two, from my perspective, I'm helping the event coordinator, the event host, be able to promote his event a little bit more, his or her event a little bit more by having the audience talk about how great the event is there. So it's kind of I guess, an attaboy for me, if you will. But I just want to help the event host that gave me the opportunity to be there. So that's why I like to do that. But you give that call to action at the end of your conclusion so people will go take some kind of action. because it doesn't matter how great you explain it, doesn't matter how many times you explain it, your concepts, your ideas, the knowledge that you're giving to people, they still have trouble translating that into a tangible, actionable step. So for me, I like to give that call to action so it gives them that tangible, actionable step. You could go in and sell a product at that point. You could pitch yourself. You could say, go follow me on social media, like everybody does. But I like to give some kind of tangible action so I can see who it was that actually took action, who it is that's serious about actually getting better at speaking and putting themselves out there on social media, doing those videos and things of that nature. So when you're in your conclusion, there's those three parts. So I kind of wrap up here to let you know what those three parts are in your conclusion. One, you want to summarize exactly what you talked about in your whole speech. So let people know what it is that you said. You could literally say the 3 points again, the 5 points. I would suggest not saying them all, but just in summary of whatever it is. The overarching theme is a great way to talk about it and give that summarization of your speech. Number two is give a specific thing that you want them to take away from that to remember. And then number three, giving them a call to action. So they actually take some action on the thing that you taught them there in that speech. So make sure that you don't just say in conclusion at the end of your speech. Make sure that you stay tuned for the whole thing and get them engaged and staying in tune for the whole speech, not just the very end of the speech because you said in conclusion or to wrap things up or anything like that. But give them that summary, give them that one piece that you want them to remember, and then give them that call to action.